What's going on, everybody? Uh, we're back with another episode of Bases Loaded. We, you know, come over here, talk about the MLB, why they get in their own way, all the good stuff around baseball. It's opening day. I guess. Well, I guess technically, you had the Soul Series, which I feel like that seems like a month ago already, and we had some games that are postponed today because of the rain. What's going on, Jory? Appreciate you tuning in. And we're going to go over some thoughts on some of the games we may have watched today. We'll talk about, uh, I guess, a bit of new news with the Shohei Ohtani investigation in terms of Rob Manfred's views on it. And we will finish up our predictions. Last week we got through a couple of divisions in the National League. We'll hopefully get through the rest of the National League and American League tonight and maybe get a World Series prediction out of you guys. I don't know. We'll see how much time we have. But yeah, like I said, for myself, we got Trajan up here, Wisconsin sports. I mean, you've heard him before. The Badgers let him down. The Bucks frustrate him.
Matter. Every year.
It doesn't matter.
No.
Because the Brewers get underway tomorrow.
Let's not get our hopes up. But yeah, they do get underway tomorrow. We have a roof, and yet we're playing in New York where it's raining right now. That makes sense. We have a roof. Let's just play it in New York. I don't know. Sounds fantastic. Idiots. Just dumb. Never have understood. We always seem to push opening day away from Miller Park. I love to call it Miller Park yet because I don't like the American Family Field bullcrap. But anyways, and every year it seems like we get postponed at least once within the first week. So just a crock of crap, if you ask me, right there.
I mean, there you go. That's Wisconsin sports in a hot minute right there.
In a nutshell, baby.
And obviously, we also have Aaron from Brutally Honest Sports. How are you doing tonight?
Oh man, I put in a ton of parlays and none of them hit, which is to be expected, I guess. Last year on opening day, I almost won like 40,000 off a crazy 15-leg parlay. I was one leg away, and the Angels Athletics screwed me. So both those teams, especially the Angels, are forever dead to me. But that being said, I mean, I was happy to see the Orioles beat up on the Angels today, and I don't know. That whole that Corbin Burns trade's looking pretty good. Sorry, Trajan, but no, it's one start. But he was, he was wheeling and dealing against the lowly Angels, you could say.
I've had enough. I've had enough of that already. All right, Corbin Burns is a thing of the past. I wish you would have taken Christian Yelich with him, but we still have Christian Yelich. Why? You're talking about your parlays out there. Why didn't you ask Shohei Ohtani for some help? I mean, you could have called him up. Said, hey, I need some help here on the betting lines. What do you got for me? I mean, come on, this guy.
I called him for a mystery number. He still doesn't I think he's now paranoid. So
that could be.
As hard as I did try, I got nowhere with. Unfortunately, I would have told you guys if I had that much insight. I mean,
he's out, looking for another burn phone probably or something. Who knows?
Better carry.
We can't actually start there. Because I guess the investigation is about to happen or whatever. Rob Manfred, who's the commissioner of baseball, says he believes it's going to be a short investigation. Which part of me is like, of course he wants it to be a short one because he doesn't need that hanging over his head. He doesn't need that hanging over the season too long. But if it is a short investigation, I guess we would just take it as Shohei, nothing wrong, nothing to see here. Because obviously, the longer the investigation goes, that means there's deeper levels to it. There's probably more players involved. Not necessarily like players on the field, but it could be like, who knows? Like a manager might get dropped. Who knows? We don't even know how deep it could possibly go. So what are your thoughts on Manfred saying he expects a short investigation? Like I said, do you agree with me that obviously he's just saying that because he's not going to go out there and be like, oh, Ohtani's dirty. I think our whole league's dirty and we got to clean it up. Like he's trying to put a positive spin on it. But, go ahead.
I think it's going to be short because the MLB wants it to go away. They're going to make sure it goes away here. But is Ohtani's case the only one? That's the big, when you get this first scandal coming out, right? Ohtani can't be the only one. There is other guys throughout the league in this same boat. They just haven't been caught for it yet, right? And I think they're worried. Okay, say Shohei Ohtani, we do a full investigation. He comes back having to do a little bit with it, right? Now he's found guilty. What do you do then? I mean, do you blacklist him then like Trevor Bauer? Is he just done? Is he done in the league? I don't think you can do that, right? I mean, Shohei Ohtani's too big of a name. He's a moneymaker. So then you suspend him for a while. Okay. But now when the next guy, say it's some no-name guy, right? Just some poverty franchise like the Angels. Aaron likes to call the Angels a poverty franchise. So just some no-name guy from the Angels, right? Comes out and we find out that he was betting. What do? I mean, you can't give that guy anything more than what Shohei Ohtani got if it's the same case, right? So now it's one of those deals. So they're going to try to brush this thing away because, you look at the NBA, wasn't that Michael Porter's brother that's in trouble there in the NBA for betting right now? He's a lesser named guy, right? So nobody really cares. But this is Shohei Ohtani we're talking about. This is the golden boy. This is the money maker. So MLB, Manfred says it's going to be a short one. He's going to make sure of it. We're going to brush this thing away. We're going to get rid of it. I mean, Pete Rose was the funniest thing I saw was when Pete Rose said he wished he had an interpreter back in the day because he would have got away with it. I mean, we don't know. I feel like we're never going to get the true story. That's my honest take on it. I don't think we're ever going to actually get to the bottom of this just because it's Shohei Ohtani. If it was anybody else, we'd have suspensions. We'd be making guys sit out of games until the court case was done, whatever it is. But because it's Shohei Ohtani, because it's the Dodgers, because it's this big team, we're not going to worry. We're going to let him play. We're going to have this investigation go short, and it's done. It's going to be done and over with. Ohtani will be scotch-free. We'll push it all on that interpreter, and that'll be it. That'll be done and over with. I mean, it's ridiculous if you ask me, but what can you do? It's a big money game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, could we see something where if they push it all on the interpreter, he gets pinched a little, and they throw some crazy sentence at him, he decides to start dropping names to lessen it. Could we see some? I mean, that's probably like the TV version of, like, if we get that, ESPN better fire up the 30 for 30. Like, I would be locked in to see a 30 for 30 on Shohei Ohtani and the interpreter.
Will they care, though? That's the big thing. If the interpreter does start dropping names, is the MLB just going to say, no, that didn't happen? He didn't say a word. Are you serious? Like, no way. Like, that's going to be one of those kind of deals where he might sell out the whole thing. He might have all this evidence, but somehow, some way, I just believe they're going to flush it, forget it, and hope that everybody else does along the way. And I think that's a big problem right now in major sports. Is it's just a money game. At the end of the day, they don't care about rules anymore. It's about the big dogs in the league, and everybody else just gets to suffer underneath of that.
I mean, I think if it was up to baseball, obviously the Mitchell report would have never came out. Like the names on, this guy has been tainted with steroids. This record is tainted. This, so on and so forth. Like, I totally agree with you, Kyle. I mean, if he's backed into a corner and made to look like, he was the only one in the wrong because like there's that whole conversation about how, Shohei and him met because they were both gambling or what have you. Like, there's all that smoke. I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire sometimes. And at the end of the day, like, I find it very, very hard to believe that, like, Shohei Ohtani wasn't doing any of this. Like, I know he's the golden boy, and like he's like the guy is in no shape or form in trouble at all. Like, it's not like this is a Henry Ruggs situation or anything crazy, but it's like I just don't see how he's that. That guy was the only one he could talk to in the dugout, and understand him when he talked. So it's so fishy, and like, to me, I'm not saying that he should have or should have not been suspended for today or like the first series or something, but it is kind of weird. Like, okay, he's out there playing, like, no problem at all. Like, like we said, I mean, if he played, I mean, no disrespect, Tragen, but if he played for the Brewers, I don't think he'd be playing today. Like, you know what I mean?
Nope.
He's too big. He's larger than life. He's larger than almost baseball. So it's like they can't have anything happen to their golden child, because I think the MLB and Manfred know like where baseball stands in comparison to the NFL even. And like the last thing they want to do is go back further in the public view.
The biggest thing that I don't understand with the entire investigation, from what I've heard, is that Ohtani gave this guy access to his bank account, right? This guy was supposed to have access into there because Ohtani said he never gave him the money. So how do you get $500,000 drawn out of your bank account multiple times and not have it flagged? Not have somebody calling. I can draw, if I try to spend over $300 tonight, my bank's going to call me and ask me, what are you doing? I'm going to tell them I'm paying for groceries, right? Jug of milk costs $7 now. Carton of eggs, I can't even look at it. And you're going to ask me what I'm doing. I'm trying to afford to live nowadays. But like, I mean, even a guy like Shohei Ohtani, you might have multiple bank accounts, okay? But you still $500,000 being drawn out. I don't care who you are. You have if you're not looking at your bank account, you have a financial advisor, somebody who's looking into your account. It's not your interpreter. That cannot be the guy in charge of your bank account. There has to be somebody. If you're not in charge of it, somebody else is. And for him not to see that, I think that's the biggest thing of this entire thing. Nobody asked that when he had his press conference. No cameras, right? I mean, a guy asked for no cameras at his press conference. Nobody tips a little bit of like, what the heck's going on there kind of deal. I mean, if you're innocent, I would be like, bring all the cameras in. Bring it all in. Have everybody. I want everybody in the world to hear my voice and hear me say this. But he just keeps doing these fishy things. Like he's worried about who's going to hear it, who's going to see it, that kind of thing. That's what really concerns me in the entire investigation, is the little things that nobody's really diving deep into.
Right. And that was my biggest thing with the statement that he put out there was, yeah, it's cool for you to say that you didn't know about it, but it just raises a lot of little inquiries from people. Like you said, Trajan, like, okay, so even if you didn't know about it, you had to know the money was coming out of your account, which at that point should have been like, wait, where's this money going? I didn't spend it. The only other person who has access to it is X, the interpreter. So he should have been able to put two and two together and been like, why are you taking money out of my account? And then that would have been a conversation they would have had. It probably would have nipped it in the bud. But for it to go to the point of like $4.5 million, either he's just completely oblivious to his account because he, $700 million he signs for, $4.5 million. So what? He lost it under the couch or something. Or he just really trusted this guy way too much. Maybe he took advantage of Ohtani's friendship. Who knows? Like, I feel like these are like questions that I guess fans with sense probably are asking, because it just doesn't make sense that you knew absolutely nothing about this until recently, if he's such a good friend and has access to your money.
Well, and
like
don't
two
you have a
doesn't
bigger
equal
room?
4 there.
Doesn't he have a bigger room than just that interpreter, right? I mean, you look at these guys, everybody in their corner. He's married, isn't he? Isn't Shohei Ohtani have a wife? Didn't she throw out the first pitch of that game? So, I mean, his wife is in this scenario. She's not looking at the bank accounts or anything, saying anything. And she's not talking to him. So it's like you can have that friendship with this guy, but you have – I feel like your wife should be more important than the interpreter, right? So her opinion on the whole situation. So there's just so many like red flags and doors that haven't been opened in this investigation yet. And I just feel like they're going to leave them locked. They're not going to look behind the door and see what's actually going on. And I think that's, even if you're, okay, his first statement, he was giving money to this guy to help him pay off his debts. What do you think is going to happen if you give a known gambler who just spent $500,000 another $500,000? He's going to go try to win it back. He's not going to say, I'm going to pay off this debt and walk away scotch-free, right? Gamblers are gamblers. And that's just how it is. And this whole thing to me is just ridiculous. Just fishy. The whole thing's fishy. And I think Shohei Ohtani is making it worse by the way he acts around the situation.
it's almost like he's like, why are all these questions being like he's like playing dumb? Like it's like or he thinks we're dumb, or he thinks like it should. Yeah, I mean, Trajan, you hit the nail on the head. Like he's not being black and like he's giving answers that leave you like, okay, that doesn't make sense. Like he's not trying to fortify the situation. He's like almost creating more problems, and he's stirring the pot more by the things he says, because it's like, okay, that doesn't add up, and then the fact that, okay, it's his close friend with access to his bank account, but his friend doesn't even tell him that. So first of all, Otani's not checking his bank account. No one's telling him that those things are happening, nor is that guy telling him that he's taking them. Like, all right, come on, man. Like, let's make a little sense here. Like, let's be a little logical in this situation.
Well, you got to remember the whole point of this was Ohtani as a victim of massive theft. So if Otani's going to go with that narrative, he has to play it off like, oh, I'm the victim in all this. So don't direct certain questions towards me. That's all about the interpreter. I'm just here to tell you that, he was my friend. He, made me out to be a victim, pulling money out that I recently found out about, and he got in trouble for it. Now he's no longer around. So, yeah, I'm just going to go play baseball. I'm going to hit home runs. I'm going to do all that, try to win a World Series with the Dodgers. Just keep looking at the interpreter. Just focus over there. I'm going to do my thing here. That's clearly how he wants this to go, but that's not how it works here. Your name's attached to it. We need to know every bit of how you were involved or how you weren't involved, which he's trying to make it seem like he wasn't. But I don't know. This investigation is going to be interesting, I guess, and then in other ways not, because like you all said, it's probably just going to come out like Shohei didn't know. End of investigation. Great.
Yeah, I got that feeling we're going to go the most BS answer at the end of this invest. Like, we wasted months of our time even thinking about it. A cliffhanger in a movie. I like that kind. It is. It's like the cliffhanger there. It's like they end you with nothing. You got to wait for the next season, right? And then next off season, we're going to get a little bit more on this case. Or Shohei Ohtani, he'll plead guilty and we'll finally get it over with 17 years from now or something. I don't know.
I was about to say that. Like, what if we find out after his career, like, because they're like, all right, we want baseball to grow, we want it to ascend, and we want it to gain popularity, and then they're like, oh, by the way, like at the end of Ohtani's career, he did this, and that, and then his reputation's forever tarnished. Then it's like, should he be in the MLB Hall of Fame? Like, what if that's the ultimate, conclusion to this? Like, that would be terrible in its own right. Like, there's honestly, unless it gets swept under the rug and never brought back up again, like this kind of forever makes you question, like, what, like, is he the squeaky clean guy that we think he is? I mean, it's just like, I can't sit here and say 100% yes anymore.
And baseball's had versions of that. Remember, like A-Rod was kind of seen as a squeaky clean guy. Then it was like the steroid implication. Bonds was, well, I can't really use Bonds. I feel like Bonds kind of rubbed people the wrong way even before, but,
Bonds went from a little dude to being completely jacked within a year.
Right.
That wasn't even subtle.
Right. That was just right there in front of your face. So I probably should have stopped at the A-Rod thing because, A-Rod was kind of that guy. And that kind of opened the door to people like looking at his personal life, and then it turned to people like hating him. Although now that he's like an analyst, I think people kind of like him again. I don't know. He's had an interesting relationship with baseball fans. So
like Tony Romo.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see if that's probably a good Tony Romo. Yeah. We'll see if Shohei's character gets assassinated like that. I don't know.
Or Kyle, do you remember when A-Rod went on Mike Francesca show in New York, and he's like, it's just unbelievable that what was it, Bud Selig at the time? He's like, he wouldn't even show up and talk to me. He wouldn't even. He's like, I've done nothing wrong. Like, and it's like he made himself, like, it almost convinced me. I was like, you know what? Like, the commissioner didn't come and meet him after saying he would, after saying, we would have this whole lengthy conversation, and like I was like, you know what, maybe A-Rod isn't the innocent, but he played it off so hardcore to the fact that it was like, I'm not going to admit it until I literally have to. And then he did. And then it was like, you know what? I was misled, or I was misguided by, it's just like, these guys don't ever just say, you know what? I wanted to use performance enhancing drugs to be the best player of all time or whatever. It's like, I don't know. It's a shame baseball has to be like, I'm not saying they should admit all their faults and everything of these players. It's like they just deny, and then it's like, okay, you're guilty though. Like what?
Well, part of that is with baseball, probably more so than other sports. They're so numbers driven, and with that, you have a lot of the old school writers that try to play the game off like it's the purest game in America, and it's like, not really. I mean, you had steroid era, you had Black Sox and all that way back in the day. Like baseball kind of surrounds scandals. That's kind of their history, but it's like the writers act like, no, we're above that. It's like, no, just embrace it, okay? You have your Hall of Fame. Let the steroid players in. Who cares? Put them in a special wing. You could wave your finger at it as you walk by the room, but at least put them there because they kind of deserve to be there. Like, you didn't care during the era when they were doing it, but now that they're done, you want to act like you're turning a blind eye to the whole era now. Like I don't get that about baseball at all. So, we'll see what they do. But let's put baseball in a brighter stroke here and talk about the actual game on the field. Like I said, last week we started with our predictions. We got through the NL West where we each agreed the Dodgers should probably win, and I believe we agreed that the Giants would be the biggest competitor to them.
I was somewhere with the Diamondbacks. I thought I said
okay,
Diamondbacks.
That might have been.
In there.
I feel like Giants and Diamondbacks were where we were looking at. We talked about the Central. Aaron and I went with the Cubs, which broke Trajan's heart.
Yeah, whatever. We're over it. All good here.
But we both did say we kind of root for the Brewers. We're just not picking them because we're picking the Cubs.
It's hard to hate the Brewers. How do you hate a team who's been a poverty franchise their entire franchise career? I mean, come on. We're just like the feeder team. We just send guys out. We build them up and we send them out. You're welcome, Orioles, for Corbin Burns.
Well, the Orioles are freaking. How long have they been that too, though? But you're exactly right. Like they're like the Oakland A's in Moneyball, where we're the organ donors for the Yankees. We're the whole statement. But yeah, it's hard to root against a team like. It's hard to I hate the Brewers. Like, okay, why?
Unless if you're from Chicago, if you're from Chicago, you have an excuse. The Cardinals, some of them hate us too, but the Cubs, I mean, we hate them. They hate us. This is how it goes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what makes baseball good. Those ingrained hatred for certain teams. Red Sox fan can't stand the Yankees. Not really much to explain there. It's just they're the Yankees. I don't like them. Pinstripes.
I don't like the Yankees either.
Stadium. I don't like any of it. The fact that Verdugo's there, don't like that anymore. Don't like him at all.
And Garrett Cole.
Red Sox, Yankees can't stand. Yeah. Although Devers hits home runs off of him, makes me laugh. But that's neither here nor there.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So now let's look at the National League East. It's been a division that's been dominated by the Braves recently. So obviously we'd have to say, do we expect that to continue this season? Let's just start there. Are the Braves the favorites to win the division?
Yeah. I really do think so. I think they have one of the best pitchers in baseball with Spencer Strider. And then you still have Acuna, Elbies, Austin Riley, Matt Olson. I mean, relatively the same lineup that ran it last year is going to be running it back again this year. So, yeah, I got the Braves up top.
All right, Aaron. I mean, one of your teams is in this division. Are you willing to give it to the Braves?
I am not. I think
there we go. Okay.
The Braves have done this how many times? I mean, you go back to the 90s, you go back to the early 2000s. They win the division every year, and what do they actually do? Just like every other Atlanta team, nothing. So at the end of the day, I just think this Phillies team, they re-signed Nola, they re-signed Wheeler. Those guys are there for the next few years. There's no nothing in the back of their head. They can just go pitch. And then, not that Whit Merrifield is like a crazy great player, but the Phillies go out and get him. Chris Sale, I have zero confidence he'll do much of anything for the Braves. I think he's beyond washed up. Kyle, you kind of witnessed that, unfortunately, for your Red Sox. When they got him, I was like, really? Like Chris Sale? That didn't make sense to me. So I just think after all these years of the Phillies kind of playing second fiddle, I think they get over the hump, win the division. I picked the Phillies to go to the World Series. So, I mean, they're one of my favorite teams, but I just have this gut feeling this year that, I mean, the Phillies absolutely annihilated Spencer Strider in the playoffs last year. I have some weird feeling that it won't play out that way tomorrow, but I still think, it's going to be close outside of the Phillies and Braves. I mean, the Mets have no chance. And then the Nationals and the Marlins, I give a better chance than almost the Mets, maybe. And then, yeah, I think the Phillies find a way to win this division by like maybe 3 games max, though. It's going to be a dogfight. The Braves are a great team. And even in the playoffs with not so much success, even though they have that one recent World Series, I still don't count them out. Like, they're still, if they get hot, they can go the whole way too. So
I agree with the rotation portion of that. That's the biggest worry with the Braves is you have Max Fried and Spencer Strider, but then behind that you got Charlie Morton, Chris Sale, and then Ronaldo Lopez. I don't think Lopez has pitched since like 2019 in the bigs. I can't remember the last time I saw him out there. So you have a solid 1 and 2. Max Fried is one of the best in the NL when he's healthy. But after that, yeah, I agree. That could be like you said, a 3-game lead for the Phillies. That could be because of those 3 at the back end of that rotation. So I agree. I think the Braves will win it, but I think they will have trouble with that starting rotation because Chris Sale, injury prone. Max Fried has been injured as of late. And then you look at Charlie Morton. He's old. I mean, he's 40. I think Charlie Morton's about 40 now.
He's almost, I think he's almost 41. So, yeah.
I don't know how you bank on him to be the number 3 in your rotation, but I mean the Brewers are doing it with Wade Miley, so I gotta hope for the best, right? It's like an old folks home out there. So they should. I mean, the Braves will be good, but the starting pitching staff is what worries me with the Braves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, when you're talking about the Braves, you got to look at the lineup. That's where they're so dangerous. You're looking at Acuna, obviously, Albies, Riley, Olsen, Ozuna, Harris, Murphy, Arcia, and then they got was it Kelenic? I think it's how you pronounce the last name from Seattle. That's a pretty murderous, starting lineup. So, teams going up against that lineup, their pitcher is going to have to be on point because yes, with the Braves, 41-year-old as your number 3, Sale, who's 35, but even that 35 is kind of older because he's such a small frame. And his motion is so violent that he's just prone to arm injuries and everything like that. But as a number 4, maybe he doesn't put so much pressure on himself, and maybe he can get through the season and be a really good number 4. But yeah, I would still take the Braves in this division and would agree that obviously the Phillies would be the biggest competitor for them. And plus, it wasn't just last year that the Mets ownership was like, oh, we'll be competitive in like 2-3 seasons. So why should we bank on the Mets this year anyway?
I will say with the Mets, David Stearns did wonders with the Brewers. Him being out there with the Mets, I felt like, the Mets in the past just spent money, but they spent it kind of aimlessly. They were just throwing money around because they had a lot to spend, right? The Scherzer, the Verlander, 2 big deals that didn't work out. Now with David Stearns, how much he did for the Brewers in 2018, 2019, with little to no money at all. He was able to throw together competitive lineups. I mean, the Brewers, I really do believe they should have beat the Dodgers, ended up in the World Series in 2018. That was my biggest letdown with the Brewers in recent past. But, I mean, David Stearns has done wonders over the years. And for Mets fans, I don't like the Mets, but I think that's fantastic for him because I think that will bring the Mets back. They won't be spending money aimlessly. He's able to dissect and get into real talent out there. And I think that's going to be huge for the Mets moving forward.
All right. Yeah. I mean, look, we'll see what they, because obviously being in the New York market, they can't have too many seasons of not being relevant because we all know New York fans aren't necessarily the nicest to their teams. So there's definitely pressure there for him to turn it around. Because like you said, they tried the big names, it didn't work. Maybe with a different approach to it, they can find some success here. We'll have to see what they do. But let's move on to the American League. We'll go through those divisions, and then, like I said, we'll get a World Series prediction out of each of us, and I'll hold you to it. We'll get
That's
all the way in
rough.
October. We'll
That's
see.
rough. Come on.
I know.
Way early for this. The Brewers haven't even played a game yet, man. You want to ask me a World
So
Series
we'll do one early season, and then maybe like All-Star break, we'll revisit it.
There we go. There we
See,
go.
I can be fair with that.
There we go. I can work with it.
All right,
You can still
we'll
go
do it.
off your gut for right now, though. I mean, you can pick the Brewers.
I can throw the Brewers and Red Sox out there in the mid-season and be like, yeah, they're both below 500, not even in the race. Okay, let's switch this thing up.
I mean, you could do that, but think about it. If you make a prediction here today before most teams have played and you actually are right, that just looks a lot better.
Oh,
so, I mean, yeah, you could throw Brewers, Red Sox. I'm not going to argue against it as a Red Sox fan. I would love to see that.
Argue against that as a Red Sox fan. I could argue against that as a Brewers fan. Come on, we got to be realist here.
I'm just saying. You know, you want to throw that energy out there. I'll take it. That probably means Story's having a good year. Bayo's doing great. I'm not going to argue it.
Yeah, Christian Yelich is back to bat in 330, and the guy's going to win the MVP. Yeah, we can all be dreamers out there, Kyle, but we haven't seen it in 4 years. Come on now.
DL
the relationship between you and Yelich is going to be hilarious to see over the course of this season.
You don't want to watch it. It's a lot of heartbreak, my friend.
I get it. I mean, look, Red Sox fan, went 80-some years out of the World Series. Okay, there's plenty of heartbreak to go around.
You get
it. How are you going to replace what is his name? Rowdy Tellez or whatever his name?
Rowdy Tellez. We got sacks of gum in the dugout that could replace Rowdy Tellez.
that guy,
he didn't bat his weight last year for the Brewers, and you're going to ask me how we're going to replace this guy. I mean, we got Gary Sanchez.
What sucks about it, like, he does kind of go to the argument of baseball players aren't athletic. Like, you watch that guy play, I'm like, yeah, he's like Vogelback. It's like, oh man, like, this guy doesn't try to be in shape. Like,
no.
they don't. No, I don't know. But like, I saw he was on Pittsburgh. I was like, oh man, Brewers legend, Rowdy.
I love the guy. I mean, he's like Willie Adames for the Brewers. Just a great clubhouse. Just makes you smile when you see him, but he just can't hit worth a crap. I mean, Willie so far is like 220. Last year, I thought he was like under 220 batting average on the year. I mean, this guy was just bad, downright bad for the Brewers. But like, it sucks that you can't get rid of him because it's like, okay, we're going to tear the clubhouse apart if we get rid of this guy. But at the end of the day, we have prospects who are like Joey Ortiz coming to the Brewers now from the Orioles. Maybe he's not this, I don't know, you could say like a Francisco Lindor kind of guy or one of those types, right? You know, going to be able to hit you a couple home runs here, a couple home runs there, high average. Maybe he's not that guy, but he might be better. You know, and that's where I think the Brewers are kind of running into situations now, like with Yelich. They have a lot of good outfield prospects coming up, but Yelich is still there. So we have to find a spot. We just moved an outfielder to third base here in spring training because it's like we're trying to still open up a hole for Yelich because we know if he does not produce, Brewer fans are going to come calling for him and say, why is he still out there? Well, he's getting paid X amount of dollars, so we have to. You know, that's my biggest problem with Christian Yelich is that it's the roadblock for rookies to be able to get in to the big league level.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I understand that because that was kind of the thing with the Red Sox moving Verdugo. They wanted to open a pathway for Rafaela to start in the outfield, you know, Duran. So you definitely have to take stock of that, of your team. If you're not really in a position to win right now, put the young guys out there, see what they can do. Maybe you hit on a couple of them and you have a better season than expected, and those guys get that experience in. So I definitely see where you're coming from with Yelich. Like I said, it's going to be hilarious all season to see you go up and down with Yelich. And especially
It's
right
more
here on the show.
down
It's
than
gonna be
up.
great.
It's more down than up, my friend. It's like a
Like I said,
nosedive.
yeah, we'll definitely see how that goes. Yeah, so we'll start with the American League West. You know, it's a division. The Astros have been really good. You have the reigning World Series champions and the Rangers there. You have the Mariners, who I feel like are kind of like the trendy pick of like the last couple of seasons. And then you have the A's. I mean, they're the A's. They have 1 foot out of the door, ready to go to Vegas in like what 4 years. That's a rough 4 years when you already want to leave to still sit there in front of fans. Can't stand you anymore. But that's Oakland's problem. So who do we have coming out of the American League West?
I still take the Astros in the one spot. I think they're the most battle tested. They still have a solid rotation. A lot of guys in their injury. They had an injury plague season last year in that rotation. So I think now that they're healthy, Christian Javier was, I mean, in his first couple years there with the Astros, pretty darn good. The injury last year kind of derailed his year. So I still got the Astros up top. I'm not putting the Rangers in the 2 spot. I have the Mariners. I like the Mariners now. They got Polanco in that trade, Mitch Hanger and Mitch Garver also in that lineup. I think that's solid. So I'm going to take Mariners in my 2 and then the Rangers at that 3rd spot. Angels aren't going to be good, but they're going to be above the A's. And I just think it's going to be a question of how many games do the Oakland A's actually win? I don't know.
Okay. I mean, Aaron, do you see a similar finish, or you have somebody else winning this division?
Yeah, I'm on board with this. Like I can agree on this one. I think like Trajan said, with those injuries in the rotation a lot last year, that's ultimately what paved the way for Texas. Like not to take anything away from them. Like obviously they're World Series champions. They had a great season. It seemed like every trade deadline acquisition they made just was on the money. I mean, Scherzer was probably the exception to that, but it just felt like whatever buttons Bruce Bochy pushed there in Texas, that it just worked. Like everything just came together for them. I think they are going to take a little bit of a step back. I mean, losing Montgomery is part of that problem, but I just think they won't be that dominant force this year. The Astros, like you said, battle tested. They've been there, done that. They still have a great lineup. McCormick, like that kid literally went to college like right down the street from where I live, which is just crazy because it's literally a farm town. And like I've played on their baseball field myself. It's nothing to write home about, but I mean he's emerging as a great player in that lineup alongside, obviously Jordan and like Alex Bregman. Like they're just I trust the Astros to win that division. The Angels are like, my God. I mean, that talk about a franchise that has no sense of direction or no idea what they are doing. You lose Ohtani and get not even a bag of chips back for him, which is a colossal mistake on their part. They could have traded him and got probably insane packages. I get the whole argument of like, oh, we wanted to see if we could get him back, but you can't come out of that deal with nothing at the end of the day, and that's what they did. And I this might be a hot take, but I've always felt like Trout doesn't want to play somewhere like Philadelphia or New York where there's enormous pressure. I just when he signed that contract, I was like, to me, I'm not behind closed doors, but I don't think he trusts the Angels organization. But he stayed there because they're going to pay him a ton of money. He's living in California. He can pad his stats forever. But they're just a mess. I mean, I was watching the Orioles Angels game and they're throwing the ball all around. They had like 2 or 3 wild pitches today. Like they are just an atrocity. And then we didn't even touch on the A's as much, obviously for good reason. Like they are, like Trajan said, I mean, what do you guys think? Do they win 50 games? Like that might not even be that's a triple A team, basically. I mean, that's a triple A
pushing
team.
again to 50.
That's what I'm like.
I think they get 60. I think they get 60. Well, you say a triple A team, but those are the guys that I always expect to give me a little bit more, right? So they're going to get the hustle plays, the hustle.
Yeah.
They won't win it off of skill, but they're going to pick up wins based off of We stole a couple extra bases. We did this, the little things that a lot of these bigger teams don't have to do to win is what the A's will pick up wins off of.
Yeah, and I don't disagree, but I saw the Orioles win like 58 or 56 games, and I think that team was kind of, not going to say significantly better. Obviously, they're playing in the AL East, arguably harder division, but like, I don't know, man. I capped this at like 55 at the max. Like, I have no faith that this team's going to win more than 55 games. Horrible. I feel bad for their fans. That's
Yeah,
really...
that's like the biggest thing with the A's. Like you just feel bad about the fans losing their team in a couple of years. And it was great to see them last season when they were basically like boycotting and they just filled the place for a few weeks, which was kind of hilarious. But
Love
you
it.
know, the ownership's going to do what they want to do. That's the unfortunate part. They're going to do this to Oakland area once again. Warriors leave, the Raiders leave, and now the A's are leaving. So that's definitely rough. In terms of division, I do agree with you guys. The Astros are probably the favorites here. We didn't even touch on that. Jeremy Pena hits like in the 8 hole, and all he did was win, World Series MVP. So, like that's a pretty stacked lineup where a guy like that is hitting 8th. So, yeah, they're going to be tough. I do like the Mariners though. I think they're up and coming. They got a good rotation. Castillo, Kirby up at the top of it. Like that's not a bad 1-2 punch there. So they should make it interesting for a while. The Rangers, I guess you have to give them some respect because they are the reigning champions. But yeah, I agree. They probably take a step back this year and I guess fight for a wild card spot. We'll see. But let's go to the American League Central, that division that you kind of like poking fun at because
It's garbage.
Yeah, like it's a division where you get to like 84 wins, you probably win it by double digits. It's just that's just the way it goes. But looking at this division, is it safe to say it probably comes down to what Twins, Guardians again? I don't. I mean, like how do we see this one shaking out?
I saw the Athletic. They put out there that the Twins were going to win 90 games this year, and I was kind of baffled by that. They got them up there at 90. Maybe. I mean, they're going to win the Central, I think, but I don't know if it's going to be with 90 wins. I'd be more in like the 85, 82 to 85 range. And I think that might be good enough to win this. I think the Guardians will duke it out with them right there at the top, around that 80 win mark on the year. Tigers, they won't be far behind. I think they're finally putting something together. That franchise went downhill fast after Miguel Cabrera and the Prince Fielder days when they were, corner infielders there. And I think now the Tigers are slowly starting to build themselves back up with prospects and getting guys up to the big league level. So I think the Tigers will finish in third. The Royals are still building. I think they're slowly putting pieces together, but I don't even think they have close to enough yet. So I'm going to put the Royals there, and then the White Sox. They might be on the level of the A's. I really do think they might be in that 60 win range this year. I don't think it's going to be very good in Chicago.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. I mean, at least the A's will have some company. But I mean, Aaron, who do you have winning the division?
I gotta lean Twins like as well. I just the Guardians. I was always kind of a fan of your former manager Francona there, Kyle. Like he's one of those guys I just trust to keep a team afloat no matter what. Like it just seems like he's, for whatever reason, he could have like a crappy roster, but like they find a way. And I think Cleveland's kind of missed their window. Like they were kind of knocking on the door a couple times in recent memory, and then last year they take a step back. I think Francona's now gone. I'm pretty sure out of there. The Twins aren't great. They're not like, no one picks the Twins to do anything ever, but winning the division, they kind of have found their way to be able to do that. I mean, they go out and get like I thought the Correa deal was super weird. I know they got him for less money than, he was going to go to the Giants for like another $100 million or whatever. And then that pending the physical, and then that whole debacle happened. But I just, they have the most talent in that division, which isn't saying much at all. Obviously, I mean, the Royals last year were like that. Talk about another atrocity of just like they had no idea what they were doing last year. Now I give them credit; they did spend some money in the offseason. They go get Adam Frazier from the Orioles. They go get a couple players here and there, but nobody that's gonna completely shell shock the organization. But I just think maybe the Tigers get a little bit better, like Trajan says. I mean, I like Scooble. I like a couple of guys they have over there, but I mean, do I have faith that they'll figure it out this year? I don't. And then I mean, other than that, it's just that division to me is it does not matter who wins that division. I could like literally bank on the fact that they're not even going to get to the DS or the CS, I should say. It's just I don't know. And then the White Sox, like Trajan said, they got to be careful because I feel like no one goes to their games. Like I don't know how they're gonna stay afloat financially at all. I did see that they're coming out with I think it's called a campfire milkshake, which
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go to that game just to get that.
That is awesome.
I might find my way there.
The fact that like more teams don't have something like that, I don't think I was reading about that is a crime. Like I would pay $15 for that probably just because it has the White Sox logo on the cap. Like you bring it home, it's a souvenir type deal. It looks amazing. I mean, for the 5 people that go to their game, they'll probably 3 of them will buy it. But I do feel bad for that's another franchise. Like oh man, it's just gotten bad to worse out there in the south side of Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. The Twins probably win the division, but I did want to say the White Sox do have Benintendi, and if you're Benintendi, look at your career since you left the Red Sox. You've been with the Royals and the White Sox. I mean, that's pretty rough.
The
Yankees too. It's like, oh man, that poor guy. He went from making that diving catch against the Astros that one season in the playoffs. Now look at it. He's at the White Sox.
He got the bag. He went for the bag because
he
left the Yankees for the White Sox. That's.
I mean, have fun playing in front of nobody.
Yeah,
good call. No, I don't want to. Trust the White Sox like that. I'm sure they have great fans. I don't know.
All right, Chicago, man. Come on, it's nothing better than the Cubs.
And it's the South Side. Like maybe that's the one safe place you can go is the inside that stadium, and then still nobody goes. I don't know. It's rough.
Safe zone. They got that baby coned off. Safe zone.
All right, so we got one last division to go, the American League East. I mean, we already know you got your Yankees. They brought in a big name in Juan Soto. They're hoping for a healthy season from Carlos Rodon. Garrett Cole's already on the 60-day DL or IL as they call it. We'll have to see what their pitching staff can do with him not at the top of it. You have the Orioles who came on last year, finally, using all that youth that they had for several years and were finishing at the bottom of the division. They broke through last year. Can they repeat that this year? The Rays, who seemingly find a way to hang around, can they continue that this year in that atrocity of a ballpark that I hope they do away with soon? I can't stand Tropicana or whatever they call it now. You have my Red Sox, who, I mean, a lot of people looking at ownership there and wondering what are you guys doing? Is this team going to be serious? So, the Blue Jays. I can't forget the Blue Jays, who can hit with any team in the league, but their pitching is always a question mark. So, how do we see this division going? And we can start with Aaron on this one. Who do you have winning it?
Oh man, I should feel bullish on the Orioles. I mean, it looked amazing today. One game, obviously, right. But
didn't they play the Angels?
Yes, and
you told them a poverty franchise. You're going to tell me that they looked fantastic.
I mean, I know, but when you score over
play the schedule, you got to play the schedule. Though.
Play that schedule.
You can only play who's in front of you. Yeah, I mean, but when you put up over 10 runs, like you're doing something right. I don't care who you're. I mean, maybe if you're playing the A's, that might Angels at least are not even respectable. But
Hey,
the A's are
Brewers lost the series last year to the A's, so I don't want to hear it anymore. Okay, enough.
I was on another podcast last night, and they were really, really bullish on the Blue Jays. I have no trust in the Blue Jays to figure it out. I don't care who they sign. They could have, insert all-star here, insert all-star there. They just collapse and fall apart like always, and I'm here for it. I don't like the Blue Jays whatsoever. I think they kind of come to the field with like this I'm better than you attitude more than other teams, and I'm like, what have you guys even done? So cool. I hope the Blue Jays go away. The Yankees, I don't rule out. I mean, I think Stroman's going to be solid for them. I've been a Stroman pitcher fan for a while. I'm not sure about his character, but if he grabs the ball every couple games for my team, I'd be okay with it. So it's really going to have to be treading water without Cole, because I mean he's arguably the best pitcher in baseball. The Rays, to me, I God almighty, like that one is tough. Like to pick against the Rays. The Orioles had to do everything. They had to win over 100 games last year just to edge out the Rays with their whatever $40 million payroll and every pitching arm you could find in the US of A. So I'm gonna say Orioles, but I don't count Tampa out. I would love if the Yankees finish third. I think they might go balls to the walls at the deadline for a change. They haven't really done that recently. I still think Orioles win it. I don't feel great about that, but yeah, Kyle, I'm sorry. I don't think the Red Sox have it this year. I just don't. There's not enough ammunition there. And yeah, who else? I mean, Blue Jay. Hopefully you guys finish above the Blue Jays can finish dead last. I'd be perfectly fine with that. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Rays win this division either. I just the Yankees second or third. It's somewhere in there.
I think Aaron's got something against the Canadians. That's what I'm getting out of this. He does not
No.
like the Canadians. That's what I'm getting out of this whole thing.
I like the Canadian hockey teams. I'm cool with it. The Blue Jays. Oh man, I just can't do it with them. Something about them.
We draw a line at Canadian baseball players. Sorry. I mean, I'm gonna blow yours different. I got the Orioles finishing in first. I'm gonna take the Rays in second. I think they're gonna make it tight. I'm gonna take the Blue Jays to be third in that division because I think the Yankees will implode from the inside out. I like Stroman, but I don't like Stroman. Juan Soto, he's hit or miss for me. We saw it with the Padres. It did bring in Juan Soto, make the Padres elevate to this next level. They had a whole bunch of other crap go on inside that organization. Right. But, I mean, Juan Soto with the Padres didn't make it crazy better. And then Blue Jays, Yanks, I got them third and fourth. That could go either way. I agree it could go third. I agree it could go fourth. The Blue Jays, like you said, I think Kyle said it earlier, they can hit with anybody. I mean, this is a team that can hit with anybody. I agree with that. Pitching will be the problem, but I think the problem for the Yankees, I don't like Nestor. I mean, Cortez, for me, the mustache is great, but other than that, he ain't got much for me. So this pitching staff losing Cole, I think that drops them down. Can you bank on that starting lineup then? You have an injured DJ LeMahieu. You have Aaron Judge, who is fantastic when he's healthy, but can you guarantee me a healthy year out of Aaron Judge? Giancarlo Stanton, he hasn't been the same since he left Miami. So, I mean, I look up and down the roster for the Yankees, and I'm like, this is like the old folks' home where all these old players go to retire. I'm surprised Charlie Morton isn't there yet because he's 40 years old. We'll ship him off there next to finish his career. I mean, this is like where retirements happen. We need more jerseys up in the rafters, right? So we're gonna bring Josh Donaldson. We're gonna hang him up. I mean,
bring in Rich Hill. Get Rich Hill on that staff.
Oh my God, yeah, Rich Hill. 45-year-old Rich Hill.
Out of all the pitchers the Brewers had to face, I hated Rich Hill the most. We could hit anybody else. You could give us Hunter Green throwing gas, and we could hit him. But Rich Hill walks in throwing 60 miles per hour. You would see the Brewers strike out in order. It was ridiculous. I mean, that was when I looked, because he pitched for the Dodgers that year. And I was looking at the lineup card, and I was like, oh, I like this. I like this. And I saw Rich Hill was on the mound. I was like, lost. Clayton Kershaw was on the mound. I was like, we got a shot. We got a shot. But you get Rich Hill, it's over, right? So, I mean, I think this will be, if not the most competitive division in baseball. I think it will be one of the top. I think the NL Central is going to be a dogfight just because I don't think there's much separation there. I think it's the same here in the American League East. The Orioles, I believe, are the best team, but I think the Rays, I don't know what they do, but that management, upper management, the GM, everything like that, that is a fantastically ran organization. They somehow find guys every single year. They just traded away Tyler Glass now, and people are still like, this pitching staff's going to be fine. So, I mean, I love what the Rays do. I think they'll find a way to stay right at the top. And then Blue Jays, Yanks, they'll be competitive, but I think they're going to finish in there. And the Red Sox, they might be able to jump some teams in there. I don't think the Red Sox will win the division, but I wouldn't hold it against them if they somehow found a way to finish fourth, if they found a way to finish third. I think they could be in that mix. I think the bottom three in there is going to be a dogfight in the AL East.
I mean, Trajan's just talking my language here. Has the Red Sox being somewhat competitive, has got the Yankees falling off a cliff. I'm loving it all. I do think that the Orioles probably win the division. I root for the Orioles, right? Because they were that team that was the doormat for so long. They were just stockpiling young players, and now you could kind of say like they built the team the right way, and they had success last year. Now for them, this year is going to be now being a team that used to be hunting, the Yankees and everybody above them. Now they have a target on their back for what they did last year. Can they repeat that? I think they'll be fine. I do agree with you with the Yankees. Like the Yankee season could go really well, and they could be the talk of the town and everything like that, or they start off slow and it just crumbles on them. Like we don't know what this Yankees team is going to do. I mean, the Red Sox. I'm one of those who thinks that the lineup could be better than people think. It's just going to be the rotation because you have Bayo at the top of it. I'm okay with that. He's a guy who's been working out with Pedro. He's got good stuff.
AL Cy Young.
Then the questions start happening. You got Pivetta. What is he going to do game in and game out? Who knows? Whitlock. How guys who show flashes and then struggle. So can they all put it together and then maybe the Red Sox will do well. Like I said, the Blue Jays will hit a lot of home runs, but you got to wonder about the guys on the mound. So, yeah, I like the Orioles to win that division. So that means we've gone through the divisions. Got a couple minutes here. I need World Series predictions. What do you got?
Oh, come on now. That's tough. Can I give you the one that I wish I could see, but I don't think it's going to happen?
I'll take that. I mean, you could give like the one you wish for and what you truly think will happen. Well, I'll give you that leeway.
Orioles and the Brewers would be one that I wish for. I think that would be fantastic. I think, you have two franchises who, have never really been able to get it done, make it to the biggest stage. I don't think it's going to be the money game that the MLB wants, though, so I think they'll find a way to knock them out of there. I think they'll find a way to knock the Brewers out. I think the Orioles get over the hump, right? We're talking about a team who is returning basically the team. They just added Corbin Burns, and then Jackson Holliday isn't even up at the big league level yet. And I'm already hearing this guy's coming up at some point, and watching this guy hit is like, I wish he was in the Brewers organization because he's phenomenal. Like, this guy is top tier material already. Watching him, I think it was against the Blue Jays. He had that ground ball up the middle to Bichette, and Bichette fielded it like he normally would, and Jackson Holliday beat the throw at first. And it was on the opposite. Yep. It was on the side of second base, and I was like, this is a different kind of guy. Like, this is a guy who's going to hustle. He's going to do the little things. Like I was talking about earlier with the A's, right? He's going to do the little things, and he's going to continuously do that. I think that's what the Orioles do as an organization. So I like the Orioles. And then in the NL, I don't know how you don't say the Dodgers, just because I don't know how you keep them out. But I think the Braves get back there. I think if there's an offensive juggernaut, if there's an offensive team that can beat the Dodgers, right? If you're going to beat the Dodgers, you're going to have to go swing for them, right? I think that's the Braves. Like you were talking about, you gave us the whole lineup for them. There isn't really a hole. And I think that's the big thing you got to look at is you got to have 1 through 9 able to hit. I think the Braves are one of those teams. I think the Phillies can slug their way there, right? The Phillies, I mean, last year in the playoffs were going off. Bryce Harper, if he stays consistent, that's a dog right there. So I think the Phillies could, I mean, be a potential sleeper, but I like the Braves and I like the Orioles to get there.
Okay. All right, Aaron. What you got? What you got?
I do like that because the Orioles and Braves met, and it was like the first time the Orioles were on like ESPN in years last year, which was cool to see. I was like, and they hung right with them. I was like, wow, like that was like the true test for me. Like when they could hang with the Braves, I was like, okay, this team is for real. Which is just like sometimes I like pinch myself watching it because I'm like I've seen this team so god awful, and I still look at the Orioles lineup like they don't have a super like Gunnar Henderson's a really nice player, and Adley Rutschman is a really nice player, and Santander is a good power hitter, but they don't have a Judge, they don't have even like a Devers, they don't have a guy where it's like, oh my god, like let's pitch around him, like but they just a lot of their guys get on base. They take really good at bats. I think their coaching staff, not that we talk about baseball coaching staff a lot, but I think they've found ways to maximize bullpen guys. I mean, still, I still have my concerns about their bullpen because they'll just pluck a guy for like they took that Fujinami guy from the A's and did pretty good on the O's last year. And then they have like Danny Coulomb, who was on the Twins forever. And like they just have these it's like they're like the Rays, but like I'm just like, do I trust them as much as the Rays? I don't. But I'm kind of like it's hard to pick against the Orioles, but at the same time, I think it's going to be like Astros, Orioles, and the ALCS. That's what I just like see in my head, and I feel like the Astros get there, and then I see Phillies, Dodgers in the NLDS or the NLCS, I should say, and I think the Phillies beat the Dodgers this year. I just as much as the Dodgers are absolutely loaded, I think they find a way to implode. I mean, I'll give the Dodgers credit for being a really good franchise and spending a ton of money, this, that, and the third. They only have the COVID World Series. And to me, that's not a real legit World Series to me in recent memory. I was talking to a Dodgers fan last night. Of course, he was like, that was a real World Series, whatever. But to me, it wasn't. It was, a 60-game season. So I think it's Phillies-Astros rematch of a couple of years ago. And I think the Phillies win the whole thing. I feel like it's when are the Phillies going to do it if not now? Like they've been knocking on the door. The Diamondbacks kick them out last year. No one saw that coming. If you don't do it this year, I just feel like eventually this door is going to close. Some of these guys aren't going to be as good as they are now. Harper gets banged up nearly every couple games, but that's just the way he plays. So yeah, I say Phillies over Astros.
Okay. I'm gonna throw, I think, a different team out there in the National League, but I will say Orioles versus Giants. I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna throw the Giants out there.
Wowza!
I'm gonna go crazy with it because I think with the Giants,
saying the Brewers. That's crazy. You just said the Giants.
Right.
That's
still crazy. It's still crazy. People are picking the Orioles. Like at the end, like it feels crazy. Like
yeah.
But it's like picking the Diamondbacks last year, though. I mean, you could compare the Orioles this year to the Diamondbacks last year.
And I feel like the Reds are like a couple years. Trajan, you could probably correct me here, but are the Reds the Orioles of like 3 years? Like, are they ascending in the right direction?
Yeah, they're on the cusp. The talent in Cincinnati is through the roof. Like, if you were to ask me who's got the most talented team in the NL Central, I don't know how far I could look past the Reds. Like, that might be the most talented team in the NL Central. Skill-wise, they're just young. That's all that it is.
But sorry, Kyle.
No, I was just going to say, for me, the Giants, it's going to be the pitching staff because you have Logan Webb, who's, been pretty good. You have, what was I looking at here? Oh, Jordan Hicks, who they brought in, who last year I think his ERA was like 3.3, which is, you definitely take that, and now moving to that big ballpark, we could see that dip a little bit. Who knows? And then they just brought in Blake Snell. Now, obviously, we got to see how long does it take Blake Snell to get kind of ramped up because he waited so long to sign there. But if those three can get it going, maybe they can create some noise. I mean, offensively, I mean, can they be like league average? Maybe that might be good enough for them if that pitching staff is hitting on all cylinders. So I'm gonna throw the chance of the Giants out there for the World Series, and like I said, the Orioles. I'm expecting last year to help them so much with that playoff experience, even though they did lose to the Rangers. But kind of like you said, Trajan with the Brewers, they lost the team that ended up winning it all. So you kind of look
Every
at that and
year,
say,
man. Every year.
right. So now the Orioles can go into this year. Maybe they're able to take a deep breath and be like, we're a good team. Let's go out there and just play good baseball, get back to the playoffs. And with last year being such a disappointment, but the fans there loved it. I think they can build off of that and make it through the American League. I feel like the one I'd love to see, pie in the sky fantasy world. Obviously, I'd love to see my Red Sox get in and go up against the Braves. Braves used to be the Boston Braves, now the Atlanta Braves. You get the Red Sox, all the history that would be there, and yeah, I guess now living in Atlanta, being from Boston, obviously those would be the two teams I'd want to see. So that's what I'll go with for World Series predictions. Like I said, around the All-Star break, we'll revisit them because I'm sure by then I might be punching a wall about the Red Sox. We'll see, but who knows? Devers could be going crazy. Story might turn it around, and maybe they're leading the division, and I go really crazy with World Series predictions. But I mean, look, I feel like there's another good episode in there. I mean, before we get out of here, Trajan, anything you want to add or say? I will say that the Rangers just tied it, so Cubs Rangers are tied at 3.
Yeah, Cubs.
I did have that game on Sicily and
that.
ESPN.
We don't need to talk about the Cubs. Cubs suck. That's all we need to know. That's all we know. Let's see Craig Counsell manage his way out of this one. That's what I want to know. See that guy, huh? No, I mean, it's exciting. Baseball is back. I mean, there's nothing better. Nothing better. I wish opening day was today, but, rain in New York, as we know. We have a roof at American Family Field, but let's go to New York. It was fantastic. Great talk. I like the World Series predictions. I honestly could see everyone that we threw out there. I could see each one of them happening. So I thought it was really good.
Okay. I mean, Aaron, you got anything you want to add before we get out of here?
No, I always enjoy it. And now we actually have, not that we didn't have stuff to talk about before, but it's like we have live results to talk about. That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we don't have to talk about the Ohtani thing too much, just because it's like it is a black cloud to me. Like and it's the guy you never thought would be involved in a scandal is involved in a scandal. So it's like
it makes it better.
It brings eyeballs, that's for sure. So maybe baseball does kind of want that. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. So yeah, no, I'm excited to see how this season plays out. As long as the Yankees don't win it all, I'll be a lot happier. Which I don't think they will, but I don't know. For some reason, I fear like the Yankees and Cowboys are the same team to me in recent memory, but I always fear the Yankees more. I always feel like, the Yankees will figure it out one of these years. But I mean, knock on wood, they haven't, and I hope they continue not to.
I just don't want a Yankees Dodgers World Series. That would be.
I couldn't.
Oh man, that's what baseball wants. That's not what baseball fans want. That's what baseball wants. Yeah. Money. They think that it's a money game. So there's your two big markets. Run at it.
Yeah. No, please no.
I'd rather if you get one of them in. On the other side has to be like an up and coming team, kind of like a Diamondbacks kind of scenario where it's like big bad Dodgers or Yankees versus the plucky little whatever team, and then everybody can just root for that team unless you're a Yankees or Dodgers fan. That's what I would rather see if one of those teams does make the World Series. But yeah, I would love not to have either one.
If it does go Orioles Dodgers, because I think the Dodgers are Yankees West 100%. Like they're more Yankees than the Yankees now because they just spend $1 billion. And the Dodgers win, that would just be a kick in the stuff. Oh man, because it's like big money, big market. Once again, finds a way to crush the little kind of like the Cinderella.
My worst scenario, though, is Yankees and Cubs. I would boycott baseball. I wouldn't be able to watch. I wouldn't be able to root for anybody. I would just boycott it. I would watch rugby. I don't know, something.
Gun to your head, though, you have to root for one of them. You have to.
I hate the Cubs, man. It's all Yanks then. I would have to cheer for. Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Brutal.
I couldn't cheer for the Cubs, man. Come on. I mean,
The Yankees got too many chips, though. They don't need another chip ever. They never need another chip.
Could I pick, like, it just gets postponed and we can't play the World Series? Something happens. I don't know. The Shohei Ohtani news blows up the world and we're just done.
I guess you could.
We can call it as that. We can call it as that.
I mean, I could say a worse one might be like Yankees Mets, because then you have to hear like Subway Series every day, and we had that already. No. I don't need New York being in the forefront, both sides. I don't need that.
The buzz of that would be pretty cool though. Like just like yeah. I could like stomach that, I think, because I just be pulling for even though the Phillies and Mets hate each other. Well, the Mets are like they'll never do anything. So I'm like, as long as it could be anybody. It could be. I don't even like your Red Sox too much, Kyle. But hey, if it's Red Sox Yankees, I pull for the Red Sox. Like it's man, Yankees Dodgers. That would be I couldn't root. I gun to my head. I guess I'd take the Dodgers.
See, it's tough, isn't it? You put me on the spot before. It's tough.
But anybody but the Yankees have way too many chips. Like it's obnoxious. And like, how many of those chips did they win when there was 4 teams in the league? And can't take it away from them, but their fans will forever tell you how many chips they have. So,
yeah, guys are like 20 years old, or flexing with championships that won like in the 20s. Like you don't even know who's on the team. Get out of my face. I mean, same scenario. I would take the Dodgers only because, like, at least I could say Mookie Betts was a Red Sox player. I could just root for him and hope he does well over the Yankees, which would kind of crush them, a former Red Sox player, killing their dreams. And like you said, like the Cowboys, if the Yankees were to get there and lose, it would be so precious. Because they would feel like, we're going to end the drought, and then they lose, and I'd be like, yes, thank you.
Oh, I love when the Astros swept them. I was like, this is awesome. Like, you didn't even show up. You didn't even. Yes. You're there, but you're not really there. So,
Yankees sweeping the playoffs, Cowboys blowout in the playoffs. I'm in heaven.
Thanks to the Packers. You're welcome.
Hey, I was
49ers
fully on board with that.
Please beat the 49ers one time.
I think we should have. The NFL's rigged, right? I mean, there's a script. There's a script.
Well, I mean, we'll have to save that for another episode of the script writing. Yeah, so for those of you tuning in, definitely appreciate all of you for doing so. And once again, I'm saying, those of you on Twitter or X, feel free to jump in the conversation. Love to hear from some of you over there. But we're here every Thursday, 9:15, to kind of fit in with the baseball theme, where you have to start on the 15 or 05 or whatever they like to do, because it's baseball. Who knows why they do it? But every Thursday, make sure you tune in for myself, Aaron, and Trajan. We appreciate it. We'll give you the rest of your night. I got to go watch the Red Sox, who have to start with the Mariners at 10-something at night. Great. Well, at least I got to see Brian Bayo. So until next week, we're out of here. See you.